Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel. April 5th, 2018.
The Kuhner Report is powered by Kelly Financial Services. Cleaning up your financial bull. Get the peace of mind that you deserve at Kelly Financial Services.
2:05 here on the great WRKO. Okay, my friends. Sweeping new crime bill. It's one of the most sweeping in decades. Its intended purpose, they're open about this, is to reverse the law and order policies that were passed in the 80s under Reagan and the 90s under Bill Clinton. This is a bill that has now been passed 37-0 in the state Senate, 148-5 in the State House. Baker has now come out and said he plans to sign it. It would dramatically reduce sentences for drug dealers. In fact, if you're convicted of dealing cocaine for the first time, practically nothing. It's not even a felony, it's a misdemeanor. If you're on most drug offenses, the first time you're caught, it is a slap on the wrist. Even the second and third time, they have dramatically reduced the penalties. Furthermore, according now to the bill, if you are stealing anything over $250, before in Massachusetts, if you stole over $250, it was a felony. Now you have to steal over $1,250 for it to be considered a felony. Retailers have been protesting, saying this is incentivizing thievery. You're going to see a lot more burglaries, a lot more thefts, a lot more crime. Not only that, parents are now prohibited under this law from testifying against their own minor children, even if they witness a murder, rape, car accident, car thievery, a car theft, you name it. Doesn't matter. Drug dealing from the house. They are not allowed to testify against their kids, even if they want to. What is even more dangerous, and I think the audience now has been ahead of the curve on this, is that this law openly says if you're between 7 and 11 years of age, even if you commit murder, you shoot somebody, stab somebody, I don't know, whatever. You do drug dealing, you deal cocaine, fentanyl, whatever it is. You work on behalf of MS-13. You cannot be punished for even a day. No juvenile, you can't go into the juvenile system. You cannot be put behind bars anytime for 24, not even for 24 hours. So nothing happens. Literally nothing happens. And so this is going to incentivize drug dealing. I think it's going to make the opiate crisis much worse. You are now going to see much more crime, much more murder. You're going to see many more thefts. And I think you're now going to see a lot of kids being co-opted and used by the gangs, by MS-13, to start committing more and more unspeakable crimes, because what's the punishment? And you're going to see these gangs go to the family members, the parents, and say, let us utilize your children. You have nothing to lose. So we'll give you a cut of, let's say, the drug money or the drug proceeds. And, you know, little Alfie or little Elizabeth nothing. It won't even go. There'll be no record. She never will spend not even 24 hours behind bars. Absolutely nothing will happen to your child. Brittany, you were making a very good point to me off the air. Could you please repeat it to the audience?
So Charlie Baker, Mr. Opioid Crisis, goes crying to Washington, D.C. Help my state. Oh, I need more federal funding for this opioid crisis that is going on in Massachusetts. And he is inches away, this close from signing a bill, Jeff, that protects criminals and protects drug traffickers. Are you kidding me? This is going to be so bad. This is political suicide for Charlie Baker, especially if he signs this bill, especially being, Mr. Opioid Crisis, that he wants this federal funding and he's been speaking out against the crisis that's been going on in Massachusetts. You're going to sign this bill. Forget it. You're not winning. You will not be the governor.
617-266-6868. Let me give you Governor Charlie Baker's direct number. We have to call, melt down his phone lines, and put maximum pressure on him and say, for the sake of our children, for the sake of our schools, because you're going to see drugs now start pouring into schools, for the sake of our neighborhoods, for our safety, and for the rights of victims, vote no on this bill. Veto this bill. Send it back to the state legislature and say, do it again. This is not acceptable. His number, direct number, 617-725-4005. 617-725-4005. Give him a call and tell his office what you want him to do with the crime bill. Okay. I want to read to you from today's Boston Globe. And just one paragraph, because this bill is so radical and so extreme that you honestly, many of you may think Jeff can't be, it's impossible. Jeff cannot have understood the bill properly. Okay? This is now straight from the Globe, which, by the way, is endorsing this all the way. Quote, the legislation would remove juvenile court jurisdiction over kids aged 7 through 11 years old. No children that age, so children that age would no longer face any criminal sanctions, even for murder. For example, in the extremely rare instance of an 11-year-old shooting someone, he or she could not be charged in court. But the Department of Children and Families could still get involved. Ooh, no. DCF? You mean a social worker? Jimmy, why did you shoot Billy in the head? Why did you do that, Jimmy? You shouldn't do that, Jimmy. It's not just for murder. It's for drug dealing. And you mark my words, they do this in Mexico, they do it in Central America. They use these kids as their proxy drug dealers. And this bill opens that door wide open. 617-266-6868. Lines are loaded. Wendy on the South Shore, you're up next. Go ahead, Wendy.
Hi, I am just so disappointed. We are supposed to be such an intelligent group of people here in Massachusetts, and it seems to me that the people that are up on Beacon Hill, except for the 5, the people in our media, and anybody who is in support of this bill has no common sense to see what kind of abuse that this will cause children. I see a huge spike in human trafficking of children because they're not going to be asking parents. They're going to be just taking kids and forcing them into things that are absolutely unspeakable. I also see that if these children are not held accountable at all, which right now, it's a very tiny, tiny population, right? But if there is absolutely no consequence, those kids are going to be in school with our kids. So you're going to be having a murderer sitting next to your second grader or a drug trafficker sitting next to your third grader. And this is going to be something that teachers are going to realize is going to be happening. And even though they feel like they're liberal people, they're not going to have an answer for how they deal with some kid who is just pummeling the next kid in the head at the desk in the middle of your classroom. And parents are just going to be putting their children in private schools or home schools, and teachers are going to be freaking out about this. But I, as a parent, am freaking out that nobody has common sense enough to really look at how this would affect children.
Wendy, you're 1,000% correct. And let me just throw you a very realistic hypothetical, and then you tell me if you agree with me. Lawrence, I'm just using Lawrence as an example. Lawrence, as you know, has a huge drug problem, big MS-13 problem, and they have illegal gangs from the Dominican Republic, okay? Mm-hmm. And think about it. There are a lot of illegals in Lawrence, a lot of poor people. They come from Honduras, Guatemala, Mexico, El Salvador. I'm a local MS-13 drug dealer. I now go to, let's say, a very poor family, and I pull out in 20s, $200, $300, $400 in cash, in 20s, in front of them. And I say, look, your child deals for me. Here it is. Every week, I guarantee you this money. And you don't have to worry about your child. Because look, and I show them the Boston Globe as an example. If he or she gets arrested for dealing drugs, they can't do anything to that child. Absolutely nothing. Nothing. So will you allow me to take your child or have her, him or her become part of my MS-13 gang, and I can start having her deal on the street corner or dealing in school or in high school or wherever? When you start dealing with that kind of money and that kind of legal impunity, Wendy, I'm telling you, you're going to see a lot more children become recruited as drug dealers. Am I wrong, Wendy?
You're absolutely right. It's huge child abuse because children do not want to do this. And you know how pimps do with human trafficking victims. They beat them until they do what is said. And another problem that I see with this is that we as a country have allowed the culture that happens in other countries, which is this exact thing, to come and affect our own towns and cities and states. And no one is looking out. And you know what? We're adults. We can kind of handle the situation. Police won't have to worry, if we're losing our phone or something else, we're going to have to protect our own phones from being stolen or our computers. I see that, that's going to bring the onus upon the actual citizen rather than those who are trying to, enforce the law. It'll be all on us.
Excellent.
To protect ourselves.
You're completely, Wendy, please call again. Please, don't be a stranger. Thank you.
I just want the children to be protected.
I'm with you.
Everybody says they're doing, which they're not.
Wendy, thank you very much for that call. Look, I have two little ones myself. Ashton, who just turned 8, and Ava's about to be 6 in September. I mean, this is insane. And it's not just for our kids. I'm being honest with you. It's for us. Think about it. If I'm a mugger, I want to mug you for your money. I mean, now I can take your credit cards. Like Shauna O'Connell said, she's completely right. Up to $1,250, I get a slap on the wrist. You're going to see muggings go up. You're going to see burglaries go up. You're going to see going after retail stores, stealing. Crime is going to explode with this bill. What are these people thinking? Oh, really? Are they on crack? Eddie and Quincy, you're up next. Go ahead, Eddie.
Hi, Jeff. Jeff, I think this is one of your better shows ever.
Oh, thank you, Eddie.
You ought to take highlights of it and send it to every registered voter in this state. Because if we don't start beating this stuff back, we're in deep trouble. But my concern is, I think it's a little large. I mean, fentanyl is so cheap, and now it's going to be everywhere. You're only going to get 3.5 years. I think they should get 20 years at least. But if I'm a terrorist, Jeff,
Eddie, Eddie, I don't mean to cut you off. I promise. Look, it's not even 3.5, Eddie. The most you can get is 3. The most you can get is 3 years for fentanyl. With all the money that's involved, oh my God, that's nothing. That's peanuts. But go ahead, Eddie. Go. Sorry.
I get a lot of fentanyl, and I find a way to spread it around. I don't know. Say I go to Social Plaza, and I just find a way to spread it on the doorknobs, door openers. Or I go in the bathroom and I replace a roll of paper towels loaded with fentanyl, and it touches your skin, and you're done.
It's unbelievable. It really is. Eddie, thank you very much for that call. We're talking about one of the most addictive drugs on earth. And this is a slap on the wrist. With an opiate crisis, 60,000 people dying every year in America. Here, I got another story tomorrow. Brittany's already lining up the stories for tomorrow. The Centers for Disease Control. Am I correct, Brittany? So there are so many freaking overdoses now in the state of Massachusetts. You know, they're overdosing in McDonald's bathrooms, Burger King bathrooms, Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts. The police, every time I just mention opiates, the text machine just lights up like a Christmas tree. All from the cops. Jeff, I found another overdose today. Jeff, this guy has been overdosing now 32 times I've been to his house. All I do is administer Narcan. That's what I am now. I'm a glorified pharmacist, Jeff. Jeff, I'm not a cop. I'm a pharmacist. So the CDC now has to get involved in Massachusetts.
Because HIV infections in the Northeast, there's a lot of it now going on with people that are
using needles.
And also homeless people. So we might have another epidemic here in the Northeast.
We're going to have a HIV epidemic because of all the needles that they're using, because of the heroin and the heroin addiction and the opiates. And you're making the punishments less? Because, you see, we have to care about the drug dealers. We have to care about the criminals. We have to care about the juvenile delinquents. That's what we have to care about. And these clowns, I swear to you, they're patting themselves on the back. I'm not kidding. No, really, you would think like they just passed a law abolishing slavery or something. They're patting each other on the back like, oh, Bob DeLeo, oh, you're so compassionate. You're a genius. No, you're a genius. No, you're a genius. No, you're a genius. And they're selling us and our children right down the river. Jerry in Marlborough, you're up next. Go ahead, Jerry. Did we lose Jerry? Okay, Jeff. Glenn on the South Shore. Go ahead, Glenn.
Hi, Jeff. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Jeff, we know the Commonwealth is corrupt. Now, they specifically went after the police this week, and now they're going to pass this bill. I think this is going to be the breakdown of our law enforcement. I think they're going to start cutting back because we're not going to need as many cops because you can get away with stuff 3 or 4 times now.
Well, Glenn, I mean, Brittany just said this in my ear, but she's right. What's the point of cops? I mean, Glenn, think about it. I mean, Glenn, can I be honest with you, Glenn? I mean, you're a very nice guy. You're a law-abiding guy. But if you want to make big money, now's the time to be a drug dealer, Glenn.
I was just thinking that on the way up. I'm like, why am I so honest? Well, I pay my bills. I don't break the law. I don't smoke. I don't do anything. I'm like, why? Why do I do this?
The cops won't be able to touch you, Glenn. I mean, Glenn, Brittany, what's the bigger moneymaker? Let me help Glenn out a little bit here. Is it fentanyl? What is it? Heroin? Cocaine?
I don't know. Heroin's, making its comeback.
Heroin's
here,
making its comeback.
Either that or cocaine.
But cocaine, you get more for the ounce, Glenn. You get more, so it's up to you, Glenn. Now, I may have to join you, Glenn. Because, maybe you and I can set up shop and let's do a little bit of dealing, Glenn.
Let's do it.
Glenn, thank you for that call. 6-1. Brittany, you want into? Well, like a limited liability corporation.
I'm all set.
I figure what the hell? If you can't beat them, join them. Dave in Dorchester, you're up next. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Hey, Jeff, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Dave? Tell me, do you have a little one in the back seat of your car?
I do. I just picked her up from school. While I was on hold, I was thinking, I can't imagine how they could out-crazy each other, and they surprise me every time with something more insane. There's been a lot of speculation on what this might lead to, and I don't think we have to look much further than Mexico. I read that the cartels use kids as hitmen. Because they don't get prosecuted down there. So when I was listening to you describe this bill, that's what I immediately thought of. On the other hand, another point, too, is how much more are we going to tie law enforcement's hands in this state, in this city? It's disgusting to me. It's almost, like you said, it's laughable. If it wasn't so true, it'd be, It's a scary thing, Jeff. Thanks for bringing this up.
Dave,
and thanks for making.
Dave, if you don't mind me asking, how old is your little one in the back seat?
She's 5.
Just so exactly my Ava's age.
Yeah.
That's what I'm worried about, because I think it's going to be your little one and my little one that could be really adversely affected by this bill.
Absolutely. That's the scary part.
Dave, we got to protect our children. Thank you very much for that call. God bless you. Look, here's Governor Baker's number again, 617-725-4005, 617-725-4005 is the number. Call him, tell him to vote no on the crime bill, or else we're going to remember in November. Tom in New Hampshire, thanks for holding and welcome.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm going to go a different route here. I've been reading a book by Kimberly Strassel. I don't know if you know her, but she wrote a book called The Intimidation Game, and this is how the left does it. They intimidate the Republican donors. I think we should give them a taste of their own medicine, and how they do it is they go through the Securities and Exchange Commission to shame these people so it suppresses the Republican vote. And I see we're going the way of California. The way that's happening is they own the vote, the voting public, lock, stock, and barrel in Massachusetts. And the only way, there's another way you can get at these people. Have a march and call these people at the House and the Senate on Beacon Hill out. Call every single one of them out. Shame them. Use the same tactics that the Democratic left uses.
Tom, look, please don't get me wrong. I completely agree with you, Tom. The problem is they practically all voted for it, except for 5 in the State House, and I had one of them on the show, what was it, an hour ago. So, I mean, it's like calling out everybody on Beacon Hill. So that's why what I'm urging everybody is call the governor. It's still not law. He has to sign this bill. Call Charlie Faker and say, you signed this bill, you are finished in November. Finished. We are not going to forget this. The number to call, if you want to call Baker's number, 617-725-4005, 617-725-4005. Let's melt his phone lines down. Okay. Not only are they going to start releasing the criminals, now they want to also increase the cost of your fines when you get a parking ticket. I've got that story as well. But first, it's unclear when U.S. troops could leave Syria. Evan Heidenrich is in the WRKO newsroom. He has those details. What are they, Evan? 2:35 here on the great WRKO. Okay, my friends, the WRKO box office open. Be the 7th caller right now at 617-266-6868, and you can win a pair of tickets to see David Blaine at the Box Center Wang Theater Sunday, July 1st. For tickets and information, visit Ticketmaster.com. You can also, by the way, text us to WRKO, so we know it's for us because we share our text line. Whatever your message is, to 70470, 7470. This is a brilliant text about the recent crime bill that's just passed the State House and the State Senate, and that Baker now is on the verge of signing. Listen to this text. I think they have no idea the unintended consequences of this bill. Listen now to this text. 617. Jeff, what happens if a parent discovers their child is planning on shooting up a school? Can they be prevented from testifying? What about getting a kid involuntarily committed for mental health treatment? Will that be prevented? Here's the problem. Your child goes to shoot up a school. Nicholas Cruz, 17 years of age. Okay? Just happened in Parkland, Florida. What is it? A month ago, whenever it was, 6 weeks ago. You witness him amassing an arsenal, or you're concerned about him amassing an arsenal and threatening to shoot up the school. Under this bill, you cannot testify against Nicholas Cruz, whatever, your child, in court, even if you're the most important witness. Because the rights of Nicholas Cruz, according to this bill, supersede the rights of the parents and supersede the rights of the victims. That's how radical and extreme this bill is. Now, let me just throw one more log on the fire. Okay? Because it's part now, I think, of the breakdown that is starting to happen in our state, because I believe that the silent majority, and I do believe even in this state, we are a majority. We're a divided majority, we're a quiet majority, we're a cowed majority, but we're still the silent majority. We're the ones who work, we're the ones who pay the taxes, we're the ones who raise our families. We are the ones who put food on the table. We are the proverbial horse that has been dragging the cart. Well, now they want to load up that cart even more. Listen now to this. So, Macho Marty Walsh, just when I thought he couldn't be even stupider, he's now actually managed to out Marty Walsh. You see, there's a parking problem in Boston. And so what Marty Walsh is now suggesting, listen to this, is because there are too many people driving to Boston, too many people working in Boston, too many people parking in Boston, he now says that he is going to push a law with the city council that will dramatically increase parking fines in Boston. In fact, they want to nearly double the price of parking tickets. And according to Macho Marty Walsh, listen to this, it is the first time since I've been mayor that we've even looked at these fines. But he says, don't worry, because the investment that we're going to be getting off of this money is going to go back into so-called transportation. What kind of transportation? He says, well, he wants to raise millions and millions of dollars off of much higher parking tickets because he says this is going to encourage people not to drive into Boston and park. And he said, not only that, the money is going to go toward bike lanes. You see, the problem with our congestion in Boston is we don't have enough bike lanes. So he says he wants to raise our parking tickets to then use the money for more bus lanes, more bike lanes, and basically more bike paths. He wants bike paths. And, you know, people to take the bus, the MBTA bus. That's his solution. How much is he planning to raise the parking ticket fines? Listen to this. So, to all of you out there who, you want to see the Bruins at TD Garden or the Celtics, or you got to come into work or visit somebody and you park. And so here it is. Okay, here it is. If you actually park in a no parking zone, it's going to go from $55 to $90. If you're using those meters, and I've used them a couple times in the past, sometimes, your meter expires or whatever. In fact, I even got a ticket once for being at an expired meter. Well, my ticket was $25. Now it's going to be $40. If you're double parked in Zone A, you're going to get a $75 ticket as opposed to a $45 ticket. So basically, they're going to be raising tickets from at least $15 to as much as $50. Now, why are they doing this? I'll tell you why. Because they're starved of cash. And why are they starved of cash? Because Boston is a sanctuary city. I know there are a lot of companies relocating to Boston. They're hiring more people. A lot of jobs are here in Boston. So a lot of people have to drive into work in Boston. I get that. The more jobs, the more people, the more congestion, the more cars. I get all of that. But one of the reasons why there is so much freaking congestion in Boston is because it's a sanctuary city. So you're inviting all of these illegals who have no business being here in the first place, and they're pouring into Boston and living in Boston. Okay, that's point number one. Point number two, illegals cost money. It's just a fact. welfare, EBT, healthcare, schools, education, food stamps, Section 8 housing. They're draining a lot of our social services. So there's no money for roads. There's no money for infrastructure. There's no money for a proper highway development and proper highway upkeep. Plus, it doesn't help that you have the hackorama where they keep stealing our money. Maybe if they weren't stealing our money and inviting so many illegal immigrants to come in, we wouldn't have so much congestion. Now, you want to know how other cities deal with a lot of people who have to live in the city or work in the city or a lot of traffic or whatever? They don't gouge them with these ridiculous parking ticket fines, trying to squeeze blood out of a rock. I mean, how much more do they want to keep taking from us? I mean, honestly, taxes keep going up. State income taxes go up. Property taxes are through the roof. I'm already paying sales taxes. Now I want to park to see whatever at a bakery or to see a game or whatever it is. And I put money in the meter and I'm 5-10 minutes late. Now you're going to hit me with a big parking fine? But you just keep hitting me and hitting me and hitting me and hitting me. Why not have a world-class subway system? Here, London, huge city. I have a lot of problems with London, but I'll tell you what London has. London has what they call the tube. It is a phenomenal subway system. Washington, where I lived for many years, a lot of problems in Washington. Let me tell you, they call it the metro. Their metro system is world class. It's like London. The trains are new. They're efficient. The rail lines are modernized. They're on time. They're clean. They're safe. I always say this to people. You want to visit Washington, D.C.? Don't drive around. Use the subway system. There's one train every couple minutes, and it'll take you anywhere. It's efficient, it's clean, it's on time, it's world class. London, you want to travel around London? Paris, same thing, they have the metro. You want to travel around Paris? Take the subway system. It's modern, it's efficient, it's on time, it's world class. Even Montreal, where I came from, they had the metro system. Very good subway system. New York, not as good, but even New York. I've taken the New York subway. It's dirty, but, it's efficient. It can get you around the city. The T, it's garbage. The trains break down. The trains are old. The tracks are horrible. There's constant delays. And where did all the money for the T go? You think it went for trains and modern rail lines? No. All into the hackorama, baby. All into the massive pensions. There are such massive pension liabilities in the MBTA. That's where all the money's going. So basically, they gave it away to the unions, to the public sector unions. So they're stealing our money, or it's going to the illegals, or they've given it to the public sector unions, who then have loaded it up with their pensions and their benefits. So we don't have a world-class subway system. So what is this clown talking about? More bikes. I stopped riding a bike when I was 12 years old. I'm not going to go to work on a bike. Now, final point, and then I want to throw it open to you. When you have a city like Boston, whose residents, I'm not talking about the people who work there, I'm talking about the people who live there. A lot of them are illegal immigrants. A lot of them are welfare deadbeats. That's just a fact. If you're an illegal, or if you're a welfare parasite, what do you need a car for? Take the bus. You're not working. You're collecting a welfare check. You're not in a rush. You don't need a car. But let me tell you who does need a car. And let me tell you who uses a car. You, me, Brittany, Jared. The people who work in Boston, but then live in the suburbs because they want to have a half-decent quality of life. The ones who pay for the roads, who pay for the bridges, who pay for the welfare checks, who pay for all the public social services. And instead of saying, how about I put the interests of those who, buy cars or pickup trucks, who come in and battle traffic an hour, hour and a half coming in, an hour, hour and a half going back. Maybe I should be on their side because they're the makers. They're the workers. They're the taxpayers. They foot the bill. No. Notice, he never goes after the illegals. He never goes after the welfare fraud and abuse. It's always stick it to the taxpayer. Stick it to the worker. More. Always more. Raise fines. Raise fees. Raise taxes. More. 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 One final point. It's the only statistic to me in this state that matters. Illegal immigrants in the state of Massachusetts consume $2 billion a year in welfare and healthcare benefits. $2 billion a year. If we deported the illegals and got rid of our sanctuary cities, do you know what kind of subways we could have? Do you know what kind of roads? I could pave the roads in gold. Do you know what kind of a police force we could have? Do you know what kind of hospitals and schools we could have? Do the math. It's $2 billion a year. Every year. Every year. After 10 years, it's $20 billion. We would have the greatest roads, the greatest subway system, the greatest public school system, the greatest police system in the world. Instead, it either goes to the hacks, it goes to the welfare deadbeats, or it goes to the illegals. So now there's no money. They are trying to suck blood out of a stone. We're the blood. And I'm saying enough is enough. No way in hell should they be raising parking fines. Agree? Disagree? 617-266-6868. Your calls next. 252 here on the great WRKO. Okay. An historic crime bill is now on the verge of being signed by Governor Charlie Baker. It passed overwhelmingly in the state legislature. Basically now, it is going to make it very difficult to send drug dealers to prison. And it prohibits parents from testifying against their minor children, even if they've witnessed murder, rape, drug dealers to prison. And it prohibits parents from testifying against their minor children, even if they've witnessed murder, rape, drug dealing, car theft, whatever. My question to you is this. Are we now going to become the crime capital of the Northeast? And Marty Walsh says the answer to congestion and too much traffic in Boston is we've got to raise the parking fines. This way people won't bring their cars in park, and instead people will take a bike or the public bus to work. 617-266-6868 is the crime bill, and are higher parking fines the answer? Gina in West Roxbury. Go ahead, Gina.
Hi, Jeff. I talked to you last week and you said to call again.
Yes,
so
Gina,
again.
You're back. How are you, Gina?
How are you? Commenting on a few things that the two gentlemen before me said. In terms of the parents not being able to testify against the children, in part I see that as another way that the government is undermining the control by parents of their children. They can't do anything with the kid with abortion. The child abuse laws prevent them somewhat from disciplining their children because then they're going to prosecute the parents. So more and more they're chipping away at parental authority over their own children.
Brilliant.
And the other thing is, in terms of, you had mentioned the minors being used in crime.
Yes.
They already are. Drug dealers are using minors, not necessarily down to 7 to 11, but they're using young teenagers and older kids to commit crimes because the sentences that they get are less than what the adult would get if the adult were committing the crime. That's going on in the drug trafficking and stuff already. And then the fact that going down to 7 to 12 to have them get away with murder, literally, I can see them using 7 to 12-year-olds to kill people here because recently they were talking about prosecutions of some DACA kids, and they were interviewing them, 11, 12, and 13. All three of them were in MS-13, and they had killed people before they came into the United States, even the 11-year-old.
Gina, Gina, I don't want to, I'm up against it, but I want to ask you this question. Do you think that this bill is going to lead to a lot more children criminals?
Absolutely. And that why I called is I'm a psychologist, and I wanted to talk about behavior modification and the fact that these politicians, lawmakers, and even psychologists themselves don't know the difference between punishment and reinforcement. You need punishment to stop behavior. Then you can do the rehabilitation. But you got to stop the behavior first.
Gina, you never disappoint. You never fail to deliver. Thank you for that call, Gina. Okay, I gotta go. God, what I would do for another hour. All right, I'm up against it. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull. We'll have a lot more tomorrow, I promise. Bye-bye.